Adding to the debate about whether schools should reopen, about a quarter of teachers are at greater risk of becoming seriously ill from COVID-19. That's according to a new analysis. The Kaiser Family Foundation report found that 1.5 million teachers, or 24%, are at risk if they suffer from health conditions like diabetes, heart disease, obesity, or if they're older than 65. Kaiser found the percentage, about 1 in 4, also applies to all workers there at the schools. Now to Dr. Fauci.
For the people who expected to see a sharp decline in the number of cases as the weather became warm and moist, I think we're seeing that that's absolutely not the case.
That was Dr. Fauci speaking to Sirius XM Radio, referencing the increase in COVID-19 cases across much of the country. The U.S. is now seeing a surge in new cases, more than 66,000 reported yesterday, 66,627. And hospitals and key hotspots seeing shortages in PPE and ICU units are filling up too. Dr. Jen Caudle joins me now. And Dr. Jen, of course, as Dr. Fauci said, things are not great, to say the least. And even saying, look, don't worry about a second wave because we're still not out of the first one, right?
That's exactly right. Honestly, Susan, this is devastating. As a physician, I live in Philadelphia. I practice in New Jersey. March and April, we were going through this with New York, sort of the eastern states. It was horrible then. And to think that we're, I don't want to say in the same situation, but it seems like we are in other states, Arizona, Texas, Florida. It is mind-boggling and it's devastating. We are going backwards. This is not the way that we want to go. And it's discouraging in so many different ways. I also want to say, and I've really got to say this, there are so many things that we can do, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the importance of wearing masks. The University of Washington came out with numbers saying that if 95% of people wore masks, we could potentially cut back on 45,000 deaths by November. There are a lot of things that we can be doing. We have to put these measures in place.
Yeah, excellent point. Not a difficult thing to do. The mayor of Atlanta, Mayor Bottoms, saying, look, it's now mandatory to do so because we opened too early. And I know that you remember that at one point elective surgery was cut down because everyone was staying inside and they just wanted COVID patients in the hospital. Could that happen again?
Well, that's actually happening. I think I read an article in the last 24 hours. I believe it's Texas, if I'm correct. In some parts of Texas, they're cutting back on elective surgeries. That is a good thing and an important measure that really should be happening in all of those locations that are having increasing cases. Cutting back on elective surgeries or cutting them out entirely is going to do a few things. It's going to free up space in the hospital, right, for patients who have COVID and the influx of patients that they are seeing that with COVID-related illnesses. So it'll free up spaces. It will also free up resources, PPE, and other equipment and things that you might use for surgeries will now actually be able to go towards COVID resources. That's, as you mentioned, Susan, that's one of the concerns is running out of PPE and running low with more patients. So those are measures that absolutely have to be put in place right now, cutting back on elective surgeries. This is really all hands on deck. It should be. As far as I'm concerned, there should be mandatory mask mandates in these states and actually throughout the country, in my personal opinion. But these states really need to be cutting back. No dining out, none of this stuff, wearing masks, and really sort of fighting this battle with everything they've got.
Yeah, and the lack of PPE just unacceptable considering what New York went through. We should have it on the ready. Dr. Jen Caudle, thank you. See you next hour.